Well, Poland might have just lost its frickin' mind, which they have seemed to have been doing over the past few weeks, offering to bring nuclear weapons into Poland as a staging ground to strike Russia and China. Just when you thought the world couldn't get any crazier, Poland steps in and does the unthinkable, of course. We'll get back to Poland, though, in a second. But first, today, Russian President Vladimir Putin, speaking through his top military leaders, sent a clear message to Washington, D.C. We will bomb and destroy all of the weapons that you're planning to send in this new Ukrainian aid package that you're currently debating on the floor of the United States Senate, $61 billion plan. We will blow up all of them. General Shoigu reading a message from the government saying basically the moment these weapons cross the border, we will increase the attacks with an intensity and severity, the likes of which you haven't seen before. We know their location. We know the buildings where they will be stored. We know the routes they will enter into Ukraine, and we will destroy them, like we've destroyed all of the other weapons. So just think about this, right? Just think about the madness of all of this, because as Lever News points out, the great unknown about the U.S. weapons deluge in Ukraine, Pentagon has no idea where these weapons are going. We have no idea. So just think about the madness of this, right? Just keep sending all of these weapons into Ukraine to be destroyed and make members of Congress wealthy, thanks from their big donors. That's how all of this works. It's an unbelievable thought, though, to know we're going to send 60. I just can't wrap my head around it. I mean, $61 billion of weapons. You're going to send Patriot systems. You're going to send ATACMS, which is their new savior that they're going to send now, which will be destroyed. So Russia knows exactly where all of these are.
In fact, earlier today, I saw a video from Al Jazeera of Russian soldiers towing a German Leopard tank to a museum. So remember, about this time last year, the Germans were debating, should we send the Leopard tank? Should we not? I don't know. It's the right thing to do. Those are kind of intense. Maybe we shouldn't. Well, they did, in fact, send them. And Russia said, thank you. We're going to disable those and put them in a museum, and you will not be using them. So all of this for what?
Museum pieces. I guess they could use them for museum pieces. I'm just reminded of like the USS Liberty story. You think, oh, they don't know where all these weapons are going. Russia doesn't know where all of these things are going. If you go back to 1967 and the Israeli attack on the USS Liberty, the USS ship, and the collaboration, of course, with the CIA to make that happen, turns out the Soviets knew everything. They knew exactly what was about to unfold. The plan to invade Syria. They were able to monitor the underground wireless communications on underground cables. They knew everything. They then even positioned their nuclear missiles aimed directly, basically, at Syria because, at Israel, because they knew exactly what was coming. This is 1967. They knew all of this. Go back 50 years. They had the intelligence. They knew well ahead of time. They know exactly where all of these things are going. They have the most advanced satellite technology to be able to zoom in. They know exactly where all of these things are going to go, and they will blow up all of them.
And given how crappy Ukraine's military is, do we really think they've got secret hiding spots that the Russians don't know about, that they're so good and furtive? No.
No, they don't know any of that. They know all of the details about all of these warehouses, and they're going to strike them with severity like we've never seen before.
I mean, they're hiding in plain sight. We saw yesterday what Colonel McGregor had said about how now their next big mission is just to dig trenches around the lines of the war barriers so that Russia can't go any further, and they're just going to hang out there for a while to keep this war going. Well, Russia can see them doing that. So they will know where they are. They will know where their equipment is. The plan is we have no plan, clearly.
And today we're learning more about the insane new weapons package that we're about to send to Ukraine. And every one of us watching right now should feel like you've been sold out by your politicians in Washington, because that's exactly what they did. They sold all of us out. Remember, this nearly $100 billion package would send $61 billion to Ukraine. And a few key senators are trying everything right now they can to try to stop it from happening. Senator Mike Lee, one of the most vocal adversaries of this. He does not want this to pass. He was up this morning before the sun was up at the Capitol calling on senators to kill this bill. Watch.
The $95 billion aid package with $61 billion for Ukraine and up to $9 billion for Hamas. It's not a done deal yet. 41 senators can stop it. Tell your senators, let's stop this thing. Let's kill the bill.
So he lays out the $95 billion doesn't have to pass. It takes only 41 senators to stop it. There are 49 Republicans in the Senate, he tweets. More than enough. Where do your senators stand? Please like and share if you agree that 41 Senate Republicans should unite to stop the $95 billion aid package. It doesn't seem likely because Mitch McConnell basically has tied his legacy to this. He's been an ardent supporter of funneling billions of dollars to Ukraine from the very beginning, and he seems really hell-bent on making sure that that happens here. So the Senate starts with 2 procedural votes today is what we saw unfolding. That could last 2 days before the full vote. The legislation then ties together 4 different bills. The House voted separately on Saturday, of course, and passed that piece of it. That would provide nearly $61 billion in aid for Ukraine, $26 billion for Israel, more than $8 billion for Taiwan. What's hilarious, though, is the first 3 bills are very similar to the package that the Senate passed earlier this year. And the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, had originally refused to bring any of it to the House floor.
That was before they got to him.
Before they got to him.
Injected him with whatever science fiction serum makes them do. I mean, he's basically under the imperious curse.
I guess. I mean, that's all it took. I guess he flew into Israel and they just did whatever they do. And then suddenly now he's like fully on board with this, because the other piece of this bill that now he's fully supportive of is the TikTok piece of this, the TikTok ban included in this aid package. Like, how the hell does the ban on TikTok make its way into an aid package for Ukraine? Well, that's how Washington works. So the TikTok bill, because Israel doesn't want you to have TikTok, the Israel lobby is pushing very hard to have that banned in the United States. Any idiot knows that it has nothing to do with China. You're a moron if you think that that's the case. That's the cover they're using. It's China spying on Americans. You're an idiot. APEC and the Anti-Defamation League are pushing Congress very, very hard on this.
I apologize that I'm still working on trying
That's
to get.
okay.
Sure.
We had kind of a major crash, and I'm trying to get this.
Sure. Do we have that sound or not?
Paraphrase this? We can.
Yeah, I'm working on trying to get the next video up.
No worries.
1 second.
Okay. Maybe you just set up who this is we're going to hear.
So this is Jonathan Greenblatt, the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League. You know, he's been pushing and pushing and pushing to make sure that we do not have TikTok anymore. That is, of course, any sort of voice that's anti-ethnic cleansing, that's wanting to shine a light on what's been happening in Gaza. You can't have that. You cannot have any awareness about the genocide there. You can't talk about it. You can't talk about the mass graves. You can't talk about it. And Jonathan Greenblatt, of course, big proponent of getting rid of TikTok, and they have been pushing this big time.
But we need to talk about TikTok. TikTok, if you will, it is the 24/7 news channel of so many of our young people, and it's like Al Jazeera on steroids, amplifying and intensifying the anti-Semitism and the anti-Zionism with no repercussions.
Yeah, no repercussions, except here's the repercussions. We're gonna kill it. We're gonna ban it.
But it's my First Amendment right to be anti-Zionist. That's not against the law.
It is. Well, in the United States, it is. It is now in the United States to be that way. It's really interesting because the only members of Congress who voted against this bill in the House didn't receive large amounts of money from Israel, which is kind of crazy, don't you think? Don't you find it fascinating and very curious that all of those who voted for this are happy to support Israel in any way that they can?
Or painfully obvious, yes.
Yeah, they receive a boatload of money from the Israel lobby. And then they vote for the TikTok ban. And then this was added to the shameful bill. It's like, it's crazy how this happens, isn't it? They think you're stupid. I mean, they think Americans are stupid.
This is the strongest argument for separation of religion and state. You know, like read the quote underneath the bottom. Blessed are those who, what does it say on the bottom of that image?
Blessed are those who bless Israel. Welcome to Israel.
Yeah.
When they arrive, like, take a picture with the sign. So we've got you, you know, we've got you here. And so, yeah, they shoved this TikTok ban into this bill because they know that Congress is going to, the brilliance of this is that they know that Congress is going to pass all of this additional money for Israel. So how do we get the TikTok bill passed? We shove it in this. We don't do it as a standalone, because if it's a standalone, it would likely fail. But when you shove it in here, no way. So meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal did a deep dive into this giant pile of garbage, this bill that came to pass, and they confirmed our worst suspicions about Donald Trump. It turns out deeply connected to this bill, and it's the only way that it passed. So again, I don't care where you come down on Donald Trump. I mean, again, I remind you that both of these parties, it's a uniparty, and they're both corrupt. So the idea is simple here, that we're going to loan. So the idea that Donald Trump put forward, apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal here, is that it was simply a loan to Ukraine. That's how they were able to get this through. They're going to push this as a loan to Ukraine. And the Wall Street Journal points out that Donald Trump was instrumental in this. They'll pay it back, though. Don't worry. They're going to pay back the loan with one small caveat. Ukraine has to win the war in order to repay the loan. You can't make this up. This is literally in the legislation. Here it is, the Wall Street Journal. A group of senators, including Senator Lindsey Graham, Kevin Cramer, and Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma, held joint phone calls, first among themselves to strategize and then with President Trump, after he floated first the idea of making Ukraine aid into a loan. Ukraine, Trump, and the senators discussed is rich with minerals and has the potential of being a rich country able to pay back its debts, people familiar with the discussion said. Payback is contingent on defeating Russia, since most of those resources are in occupied territories. So let me get this right.
Wait. It's not Ukraine that's rich in these minerals. It's the Donbas region, which is why anyone who's been studying Ukraine for the last 30 years realizes that the leaders have been terrified of losing those regions, not because they hate the ethnic Russians so much that live there, which they do, but because of all the mining that happens in those regions. So it is no longer Ukraine that's rich in those regions, rich in those minerals. That's Russia now. So they have to recapture that land, get all that natural resources, and then, so that's how the United States will capture those things. That's a racket.
Can I do this with like a home loan? Like, can I take out a home loan, borrow like $500,000 on the contingency that I get promoted at work before I start paying you back?
Or that like, I'm going to rob it from my neighbor. Yeah. It's even worse. It's like, I don't have it, but my neighbor has it. I'm going to go attack him. I'm pretty sure, because I'm good at Krav Maga, that I'm going to win. And so can I have the loan on the assumption that I will wrestle it out of his control? That's basically what this is.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know any Krav Maga. I'm just saying.
In other words, the only way this loan is repaid is by Ukraine defeating Russia. Polish President Duda was also in town, met with President Trump, who was there apparently doing the bidding of NATO, trying to make sure and convince Trump to support this bill. Here's the Wall Street Journal. And again, journalist Michael Tracy pointing out some of these key points here. Duda, in an interview ahead of his meeting, expressed confidence that the Ukraine bill would pass. In a social media post the next day, Trump backed the idea that Ukraine's security is a U.S. national security interest. So
wrong.
Wrong.
I'm going to give you one of those, President Trump. Wrong.
I mean, I don't understand how that. So Duda is telling him that this is a national security interest. Trump is backing this idea that Ukraine's security is a U.S. national security interest. Okay. So if you thought that Trump was like Jesus sitting there on high, ready to come in and sort of save everyone, you need to get your head examined right now, because this uniparty is controlling things. So is President Trump going to be the head of the uniparty?
It sounds like you may not be voting for peace if you
and also
vote that way.
like everybody's like, well, but Trump started no wars. Well, he just supported a major one, potentially.
Yeah. And by the way, the idea that, yes, Trump did not start any wars or I guess expand them, but continued them. I mean, continued drone strikes. It's not like he came in, he's like, you know what, we're ending all foreign wars. We're shutting it all down. No, that's not at all what happened. So remember, these guys, something happens to them with the Pentagon and the military industrial complex and the relationship that they have with the Israel lobby, that somehow, I don't know what dirt they get on these guys, what they have them behind closed doors, what they're doing. How in the world does Mike Johnson go from not supporting it, saying that the border is the most important thing in the United States, to now sending $100 billion to Ukraine and Israel? How does this happen? And the idea that this is in our U.S. national security interest and that this is supporting democracy. NBC News with their interview with Zelensky even labels the interview, Americans are not funding war in Ukraine. They're protecting freedom. That's right. We're protecting freedom. Somehow Ukraine suddenly became a freedom-loving country and democracy. When did that happen? So
it's not the freedom of Ukrainians.
Oh, okay.
That's at stake. That's long gone. Has been.
So after the House vote, Zelensky was filmed being handed a copy of the members of Congress who voted for the $61 billion.
Hello, sir. Bill Keating from Massachusetts. Interesting. And I have something that you're really going to like.
Yeah.
This is the official tally of the vote.
Yes, I see.
For the supplemental aid.
Yes.
And look at that vote. 73%.
Yes. Thank you so much. 73.
That's a good vote.
Good. Very good. Thank you very much.
I mean,
cool.
What the hell did I just watch?
That?
I mean, what the hell? You have a member of Congress literally handing a list of members of Congress who voted in favor of the bill. Like, here's a list of everyone who just voted for you. 73% passed overwhelmingly to send you $61 billion. And he's like, and he like plays to the camera. Do you see that part?
This is a souvenir for you.
Okay, I'm sorry, Philip. I know it's a pain in the ass tonight with the crash that we had here on the. Can you replay that soundbite? I don't know if you can or not. It's a pain in the ass if you can't.
Hello, sir. Bill Keating from Massachusetts. Interesting. And I have something that you're really going to like.
Yeah.
This is
get the camera over here.
the official tally of the vote.
Yes, I see.
For the supplemental aid.
Yes.
And look at that vote. 73%.
Yes. Thank you so much. 73.
That's a good vote.
Good. Very good. Thank you very much.
I've seen fire, and I've seen rain, James Taylor.
Yeah.
That's saying 73% of the Congress are okay with stealing Americans' money and giving it to you. We're okay with stealing everybody's money. People that don't support this, the majority of people do not support sending them money, but 73% of the people or of the Congress are like, we don't care. We'll steal their money anyway. Here you go.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
I just like how spontaneous that was with the multiple camera shots and
the
everything.
laminated document. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
who
so
carries a
spontaneous
laminator besides me?
Dinesh D'Souza, friend of the show, says, why does Zelensky need the list of members of Congress who voted for $61 billion payment to Ukraine? What could he possibly do with this information? Where's the list?
Well, it's public on congress.gov. But
I know, but
why does he need a laminated version to put up in his office? And you know this is not it. Last year, Joe Biden told us that the package that they passed in the winter of 2023 was probably the last. This is it. We're not going to do any more. Well, that was clearly a lie. This is not the last. They're going to try again because we're going to go through. Russia's going to destroy all these weapons, and then they're going to be out of money again, and we're going to hear this again. So, he's not even going to remember if he lives to an old age what the hell that document is. Which time was this that we took aid from the United States? When was this?
It's disgusting. And you know what? I hope reporters ask Donald Trump some tough questions about this. I mean, I hope they don't just give him a pass on this. I hope conservative people who've been big supporters of Donald Trump. I mean, look, nobody's perfect, right? If you think that Donald Trump is perfect, well, I'm sorry that's not the case. This is a major mistake. I don't know how in the world President Trump could be supporting a bill like this, and when America is crumbling right now, I cannot wrap my head around it. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Trying to read the tea leaves on this, I can't figure it out. Meanwhile, though, you have Poland. So you had the Polish president fly in to meet with Trump and also Biden. But he flies in, and you now have, well, first of all, you have the Polish president, Duda, expressing his willingness to host nuclear weapons inside of Poland. And he says, I quote, "I must admit that when asked about hosting nuclear weapons, I declared our readiness. And recently, Russia has been relocating its nuclear weapons to Belarus. If our allies decide to deploy nuclear weapons as part of a nuclear sharing also onto our territory to strengthen the security of NATO's eastern flank, we are ready for it." So people are freaking out about this. And Polish individuals I'm talking about, speaking with, are flipping out about this as well. Wait a minute, you're going to bring American nuclear weapons into Poland? Duda went on to say that he expects some but not universal access to these weapons. So like, we will have them here in Poland and we assume that we will get access to them. So like, you're going to give them to us to use if we need to. I mean, and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk also called the proposal absolutely massive for Poland. So this is what's happening. We're going to move nuclear weapons to Poland. We're going to send another $61 billion to Ukraine, and we're doubling down now on a major move against Russia. And it's now totally in our national security interest to make sure that Ukraine is shored up. Does that sound like Vietnam to anybody? Does it sound like any other incursion does it sound like Iraq to anybody? Does it sound like Afghanistan to anybody? What sort of a boondoggle we're going to be involved with for the next, 5 years, 10 years?
Yes. It sounds like all of those things, reminiscent of all the hits. Thank you, Clayton. Your segment has succeeded in pissing me off substantially more than when we started.
But you have a Senate right now. I mean, call your senators. They're literally debating this right now on the floor of the Senate. Listen to Senator Mike Lee. We can stop this. We can stop this insanity right now. I mean, go on Truth Social and let President Trump know. Let the whole group of them know that we don't support this. Here's a super chat from Roman. It says Ukrainian soldiers are abandoning their positions in the field of battle. Who is going to use these new weapons? I don't know. They're going to be destroyed. The point is they're going to be destroyed. Russia's already told us they're going to destroy them. See, the weird thing about Russia is, and I've never been to Russia and I don't really care, but they've told us what they're going to do and they do it. They told us, I'm going to go back to the beginning here. Putin today says we are going to attack with severity, the likes of which in an intensity, the likes of which you haven't seen before. If these weapons arrive, as soon as they're here, we're going to destroy them.
You know why we know that's true? Because it's already happened.
Right, there's nothing
to
left.
all the ones that we already sent. So why would we think that that's not absolutely going to happen to the ones we're going to send now? Unless we're going to hide them in Poland.
We've just been sold out. I mean, we've been sold out by these politicians. I think, we need a third party. We need strong third, fourth, fifth parties right now in the United States because they're all criminal. They're all criminal. This uniparty that we have running Washington right now is all criminal. And
it's sad to know that less than 30% are on our side. I mean, that just shows like less than 30% care about what we want.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those that haven't been bought and paid for. You have like brave individuals like Congressman Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and, Senator Mike Lee, Senator Rand Paul, those individuals. And I can go on with a few more, but that's about it. Chip Roy.
You could fit them in a dinner party at a Thanksgiving table.
Yeah. You could. What's the name of that large Italian place that has the big long table?
Buca di Beppo?
Yeah, you could take them to a Buca di Beppo. They would fit at a table at Buca di Beppo and get meatballs.
You could share the Lazy Susan.
God.
All of them.
I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. YouTube thinks that you'll actually like this next video right here. It's personalized based on your own viewing habits. So if you watch the video, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it. And we will see you next time, everyone.